Crouch here, and this is okay. There we go. The audio looked like it wasn't working. Kevin Crouch here with South Metro Weather, and we have a lot of rain that is falling across the area. I mean, if I get out of the way here, I mean, you can see it stretches across our area from a lot of heavy rain in Navarro County right now, and that batch has kind of just been sitting there. There's a flood advisory in place right now. You can see that polygon there, but just recently we had a flash flood warning issued across parts of Erath, Hood, and Somervell and Johnson counties, and for good reason, because not only have we had plenty of rain already, but you see this line here that has formed, that's coming together, that's going to push eastward. I think this might be some of the more intense weather that we've seen today, and I won't be surprised if we start seeing wind speeds increasing along the leading edge of that, because that is starting to bow out a little bit, and it's moving more easterly. Most of this has been moving kind of more of a northerly direction, but this is beginning to kind of change things up a little bit. So I think that this could be, if we're going to have a severe weather risk today, I think this could be it. But I'll tell you right now, I think this is going to be primarily a flood issue in concordance with, or in the spirit, I guess, of that flash flood warning. And so flooding is really possible anywhere at this point. I mean, I see some street flooding going on right in front of my house right now, and that's just kind of part of having all of this persistent rain across our area. So a few things going on. Again, we have plenty of heavy rain across Navarro County right now. We have this batch that's coming together, and you can see there's plenty of rain behind it. Right here, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning for this storm south of Brownwood. You can see that one's even taking a little bit of a right turn. We talk all the time about how typical that is of those storms that kind of take that, that become more severe. They kind of take that right shift. And you can see there's plenty of lightning with that storm as well. So that's not headed our way at this point. But again, we do have this storm here, this kind of line of storms, this little complex that is making its way towards our area. And I do think that's going to probably be the most intense that we will see. As that is moving through, we will be heating up, continuing to heat up really. And so that has the best chance, I think, of possibly bringing a severe weather threat to our area. I'm not really concerned about tornadoes at this point. I'm thinking more gusty winds, some hail, that kind of thing. Flooding for sure. Flooding is going to be our main issue today because our particular area, especially Ellis, Johnson, and Hood, Somervell, Erath counties, have seen, and Navarro County. Really, at this point, I feel like Hill County has had the biggest break from this. You've had some heavy rain, but it just has not been as persistent as the rest of our area has been, but there is plenty of heavy rain headed towards Hill County. So don't feel too left out. It is on the way there. So far, we've been fortunate. We haven't had a lot of severe weather across our area. In fact, I don't think we've had any severe thunderstorm warnings across our area yet today. There have been some to our west and to our southwest. Again, you have one right there over Mills County. Getting my M's mixed up there. So Mills County there, you do have that severe thunderstorm warning, but none of that here yet at this point. But if you are in a flood-prone area, you do need to take this very seriously. You do need to understand that, when you have a flash flood warning like this, that means that flash flooding can start at any moment, and it can happen quickly. That's what a flash flood is. This is not a gradually rises. This is, you get a big storm with very persistent downpours, and it just kind of comes out of nowhere. So those flash flood situations have to be paid attention to. That doesn't mean that there's flash flooding all throughout that area. That means that flash flooding is possible, or in some cases, I would say likely. Kind of depends on your situation, right? If you're in a flood-prone area, those are where you need to be the most concerned across parts of Johnson, Hood, Somervell, and really the eastern half of Erath County there near Stephenville. So that's the situation as we have it right now. As you get through your lunch hour, as we go into the afternoon, I'm expecting things to ramp up a little bit because we will be heating up. Now, here's the thing. As we go through the rest of the day, we are working this area over, and it will kind of help to work over the atmosphere. So I do think that that will help us avoid too much of a widespread severe weather event that's just kind of everywhere. But again, like I said, we do have that area of stronger storms that will push eastward. Bobby Everett, you say you just drove down Corsicana, just drove on 45 from Corsicana to Ennis. Gets pretty rough on 45 right near Corsicana. I'm assuming you're referring to flooding. I have heard a lot about flooding along I-45. So let me, that's okay. Getting some messages on the phone, and I just want to make sure that we kind of have an idea of, or that I have an idea of what's coming in there in case any information comes in. Jamie Campbell, you're asking what time for flooding in Ellis? Here's the thing on flooding. It's hard to say it's going to start at this time. I mean, what I'll tell you is that we have storms that are persistent in Ellis County. There's no flash flood warnings or anything of that sort at this moment for Ellis County right now, but it could happen as we continue to have heavy rain persisting in parts of Ellis County. So I can't tell you exactly when it's going to start flooding. What I will tell you is that as this continues to move eastward, and that will probably be moving into your part of Ellis County right there in the Maypearl, Waxahachie area, probably closer to, 12:30 right now, 12:23, closer to, 2, 3 o'clock probably. That's my guess. It could be sooner than that, but that line, just kind of trying to estimate, probably closer again to 2 o'clock or so for that line. And that could be what prompts a severe, could be a severe thunderstorm warning if it intensifies, but a flash flood warning for Ellis County going forward. So that's a long way of just reiterating. I don't exactly have a start time for flooding in Ellis County, but it will be possible through the rest of the afternoon. It's just like basically the same answer for Nicole Poole. Do you know what time this should stop in Waxahachie? I think it will be tapering off this evening tonight. I don't have an immediate stop time for you, but I do think that as we get into the evening overnight hours, it will be moving out. Doris Polk saying at work here in Corsicana, the roads are flooded, so some urban street flooding there in the Corsicana area definitely expected. And then Ennis school pickup time, I know that's going to be a burning question as we start getting into that 2 to 3 o'clock hour, and it's hard to say. I want to see what this line does. That could impact school pickup, especially on the western, or rather the eastern side of our area here. So school pickup, I would be prepared for showers and thunderstorms to impact that period of time. But for the moment, it's hard to say exactly what we'll be dealing with. But I know if you have a bike rider or a walker, if you can adjust those plans, it might be worth doing that. At the same time, I mean, by that point, some areas could be getting a break. So I can't say just this moment what school pickup is going to look like area wide, but I will be kind of watching that. So just just stay tuned to, what we're kind of seeing, what we expect to see over the course of the next several hours. I do not expect that the rain will be out of here by school pickup time, but I would say the question is whether it's just going to be rain or we'll have more thunderstorms in our area. Unfortunately, that is a warmer time of day, so that could mean that we have more storms in the area as opposed to just rain. Suzanne Littleton, you're asking about where Arlington is on the map, and Arlington is right here. What happens on this map, and it was powered by, let me make sure I'm saying this right, powered by Mapbox. So the way that it works, the reason that Dallas, Arlington, and Fort Worth are smaller, as you zoom in, more towns pop up, and so when you zoom out, the bigger towns, the bigger cities are big, and then you don't have all the smaller cities. But as you zoom in, the larger the city, the more quickly it gets small, so that you can fit those smaller towns on the map. So it's a virtual thing. I have no control over that. I know sometimes if I zoom in and out, you think, hey, this town or that town is gone from the map. Why'd you take us off the map? I have no control over that. But Arlington is just south of Euless there on the map. South of Euless, and you'll notice Mansfield isn't there. That doesn't mean I don't care about Mansfield. Doesn't mean I have a beef there. That's just how it works. We can't have every single town on the map here. They just wouldn't all fit. So that's how that program kind of handles rationing out, I guess, which towns show up at what point. And Liberty, you said, when is the rain going to stop in Waxahachie? It's essentially the same answer. It should taper off to this evening, tonight, but still looking at the probability that rain will continue through at least the afternoon hours. And DJ, your flight keeps getting delayed. Make the storm stop. Well, I wish I could. Now, if you're flying out of the big airport, DFW, or Love Field, I assume you're flying south, because if you're flying north, so I guess it depends on where you're going as to why they're delaying it. But unfortunately, today is a rough day to fly if you are headed out. And DJ, of course, owns KTX 3PL, which is a great sponsor of ours. Really appreciate your support of this brand. He and I grew up together, and we kind of became entrepreneurs together at the same time too. Now, I will say he's been a whole lot more successful than I have in terms of the bottom line there. But DJ's a great guy. Lovefield, Colorado. Colorado sounds fantastic right now, but I hate that your flight is getting delayed. Ironically enough, he works in logistics, so you would think that he's definitely on the move most of the time. But unfortunately, when you're waiting on somebody else's logistical planning, that can get in the way. So hang in there, DJ. Hope you can get out shortly. And Michaela, you're asking about Whitney, and Whitney does have storms headed that way. So I would say in the next hour or so that all of this will be moving through. So it's in the Hamilton area right now. It'll be making its way through Bosque County over the next half hour, 45 minutes, and then eventually we'll move into Hill County. So I would say if you're in Whitney, you've got about maybe 45 minutes to an hour before that storm gets there. And I say that this could pick up speed as it moves eastward. It's getting more organized, so don't be too shocked if maybe it starts to pick up a little bit of momentum there, starts moving a little more quickly. I'm going to get this stuff out of my pockets because I keep jingling around making a bunch of noise. So that's the situation. You can see, I'll get out of the way here a little bit. You can see the radar. That's what we're watching. We're watching these very persistent downpours across our area. We have that flash flood warning that goes until 4 o'clock from Johnson County to Hood and Somerville over into Erath County right now. We are just under half an inch here at the studio. And somebody on YouTube saying that it's just over an inch and a half east of Maypearl, so definitely more rain right over there. Yeah, looks like you've had some more persistent downpours there. And that's the thing. Some places haven't had that much rain. Some have had way too much already and have more on the way. So I do expect to see more flood warnings, more flash flood warnings across our area. Again, especially as this complex continues to move eastward, that is going to bring persistent downpours to places that really don't need it. Now, if we broaden this out some, you can see that moving towards Brownwood and towards Eastland, things are more dry out there. Now, I will tell you that's a little far away from the radar, so it's hard to see exactly what that is, but it does look drier air is out there, and we will get a break from this as we go through later tonight. Tomorrow looks fairly decent. Tomorrow kind of depends on if we have another complex move through or if we can get some storms to pop up in the afternoon. Storms on Saturday look less likely, and I hope you'll be joining me at WeatherCon. Just released a video on that, so that'll be Saturday from 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Free event. We got the Fox 4 weather team, Brad Barton from WBAP. We've got Storm Chasers. We got the National Weather Service and South Metro Weather, all of us at the Frontiers of Flight Museum on Saturday. But the weather looks nice, looks doable. Looks like there might be storms west of us, but looks like they'll avoid us there. But for today, just lots of rain. And let's see. And Nikki Strickland, Nikki, we are hail is possible. I don't expect a lot of large hail today, not any baseballs or tennis balls getting thrown around. I think we'll avoid that, but I do think that we could get some quarter-size hail, some pocket change hail, if you will, across our area in some of the stronger storms. So that would be my expectation there. And if you don't already know about the College Street Pub in Waxahachie, definitely check them out. They have some fantastic food and plenty of great things to drink there as well. So check them out. Are we looking at severe weather with that batch in the west? Am I saying that right? Alexely? More? Am I saying that right? I hope I'm saying that right. Sorry if I butchered that, but that's what I was talking about, is this batch out to the west, this system making its way eastward. We could see that continue to intensify over the next couple of hours as we get closer to peak heating at 3 to 4 o'clock. So just keep that in mind as we go forward through the rest of the afternoon, that we could be looking at some severe storms as we go forward. Right now, no severe weather here aside from some of the flooding issues we're dealing with. The only severe thunderstorm warning right now that we have seen is way down in Mills County, outside of our area. Okay, so I got your name close. At least I was in the ballpark, right? And looking outside right now, still raining here at the studio, and we have some moving water on the edges of the street. So no major flooding here at the studio yet. But as I mentioned, we are just under half an inch. Other areas have gotten quite a bit more than that. So that kind of factors in as well. So yes, so just in the chat there is signing up for a weather call. Now, this flash flood warning, if you signed up for weather call, you got an email or a text message, possibly even both. That's not a phone call. A phone call is going to be a tornado warning, a severe thunderstorm warning, extreme wind alert, or a flooding emergency. Those could be helpful today. So it's been a little confusing because you say it's weather call, but here's the thing. If it's not something you need to be imminently warned of, then you're not going to get a phone call, because odds are most people don't really want to be called if they don't have to be. This day and age, people don't really want to be called if it can be a text message or an email. So we try to kind of manage that way, but you will get a text message or a phone call, or a text message or an email rather, for a flash flood warning. So just keep that in mind. And Chris, yes, we've been talking about those storms to the west, that they are indeed picking up steam. We'll take a quicker, kind of a closer look at that. Now, what I'll tell you is that this line continues to move eastward now. It's not quite as organized as it looked a few moments ago. Maybe farther south into parts of Hamilton and Bosque County, that might be a little more organized there. But I'm curious to see what it does as it continues to move eastward and picks up some of this daytime heating. Now, what I'll tell you is that we are seeing this line, the northern half of this line, not quite get as organized, but south of there, where the air has not quite been worked over so much for Bosque and Hill counties, that might mean a higher concern for severe weather in those areas than where the atmosphere has been so consistently worked over. So I think we're still going to justify the flash flood warning there, but I don't know that we'll see a whole lot of severe weather on the northern side if we can continue to kind of limit the fuel here just by just by virtue of the atmosphere having been worked over by storm after storm after storm. And Chris, talking about weather call, says all your friends and family know, don't call me unless it's an actual emergency. Only do text message or messenger or Snapchat. So yeah, I mean, people don't want a phone call unless it's absolutely urgent, and that's how weather call functions. So it is a great service. Just lost power in Frost. It's really coming down. Yeah, unfortunately, there's probably going to be some power outages today, especially in some of those rural areas or some of those older neighborhoods where the infrastructure is a little more sensitive. So just kind of expect that. Katie Martin, when is that storm by Stephenville going to expected to hit Ellis County? The thing is, I mean, it depends on where in Ellis County you are, honestly, but it'll probably start moving into western Ellis County here in the next, I would say, 45 minutes or so. So it's 12:36 now, so I would say closer to 1:30 or so. 1:32, it'll be moving into western parts of Ellis County and then on from there. And then Crystal, you're asking about Eureka. So Navarro County continues to be under, okay, well now we now have a flash flood warning for Navarro County. That was issued here just a few seconds ago. So that is what we have, kind of replacing this flood advisory that we had from earlier. So a flash flood warning now in effect for Navarro County until 4 p.m. So that's the same timeline as that one farther west in Johnson, Hood, Somervell, and Erath counties. So flash flood warning for Navarro County, and you can see this storm here picking up steam a little bit just south of Kearns, and that's going to be a heavier storm for sure. Looks like we could be getting some small hail in that. And then back towards the Blooming Grove area, you're getting some heavier rain there too. That'll be moving into parts of Ellis County here, eventually probably towards the Ennis area. So Navarro County's had a lot of rain, and flash flooding is possible there as these persistent downpours continue. That's just a reality of what we're looking at here. And question: will these storms still be going in Midlothian around 6? So I think 6 p.m. we could be tapering off. Don't know that anything will be over at that point, but I do think that things will be tapering off a little bit. So we will see. It's kind of going to be a wait and see deal. If we can get the rain out of here by 6 o'clock, it may be 9 or 10 before we're actually clearing things out. So if you have evening plans, I would say plan for rain across our area during that period of time, because I am really not sure. Let me see. We got one of those breaking news. Those breaking news spammer people. I can't stand those. And I guess to me, if you're getting those little breaking news alerts, I guess that means you've made it on social media, because I'm getting them all the time on Facebook now. Those little breaking news bots. And Mark Zuckerberg, I mean, he's making plenty of money, but he can't figure out how to fix those. So it's, it is what it is. And Chris Andrade, safe to say no baseball games today. I had somebody send me a message a little bit ago with a picture of a flooded ballpark, and coaches be like, we're still having practice with all of it, all the water. And I said, swim home, swim home. So a little bit of fun there with all of that. Going back, and I appreciate the responses too. Of folks responding about the hopefully the work recommendations for Terry. She's looking for something remote, looking for something at home. We've still got our kiddo, our 3-year-old Jensen, at the house, and he's pretty self-sufficient for the most part. I mean, you let him do his thing, and he's going to keep himself preoccupied most of the day. But the thing is, if we put him in daycare costs are so high now that we'd be making money to pay for the daycare. So it almost cancels it out. But she is looking for one of those remote positions, and I appreciate all of the recommendations that we're getting through those private messages. We do pretty well, but it just seems like we could be doing better, I guess is the way to say that. So I really appreciate all of the folks that are giving recommendations through those private messages. Let's see. Jason Qualls saying you just got the text for flash flood warning here in Mildred, less than a minute from it popping up on your screen for weather call. Yes, weather call is very, very quick. Weather call, I mean, it's boom. I mean, really, really fast. So definitely appreciate those folks that sign up for weather call and that give those recommendations there, or give the positive reviews, I'll say. Aaron Kirby, it's an Apple Watch, so that is what I'm using here. So I have this because it helps me to stay in the loop And, if there's a warning or something issued or some kind of bulletin comes in, I may not always have my phone on me, but I've got my watch that's going to let me know as soon as possible that something might be going on. Ashley Cook, you used to be able to reply to comments and can't now for some reason. That I'm not too sure about. I don't know. Don't really know what you're referring to there, but unfortunately, I don't think that's something that I can control. That's just going to be on Facebook's side. So I know we got some folks that are just jumping in here. Maybe you are just wrapping up your lunch break and about to go back to work and want to check into things. Here's the situation we have. We have flash flood warnings in Navarro County, as well over in Johnson, Hood, Somervell, and Erath counties. All of those until 4 o'clock today. And we have a strong storm right over the Kearns area, really Kearns and south towards Rice. That is moving eastward, and no severe thunderstorm warnings with that, but we could be looking at some gusty winds, some small hail from that one. We have plenty of heavy rain across our area in parts of Johnson, Ellis, and Navarro counties, of course, and then we are watching this complex to the west. This has kind of been a new feature here, especially the southern half of that in parts of Hamilton and Bosque counties. I'll say the northern half of this is not as intense, but it's moving into parts of the atmosphere that have already been worked over so much that there's probably not as much fuel for severe weather. And then south of there, Hamilton and Bosque counties, that one is getting a little more intense. So I won't be surprised if there's some gusty winds on the leading edge of that as it continues to move eastward, as it continues to trudge on east. So Jack's on YouTube saying that Mildred and Eureka is so flooded right now. That's the thing, is those areas in Navarro County that have already had so much rain already, the downpours continue. So I'm not surprised at all if you are seeing some flooding in that area. And then it's going to be the same situation here. Part of the justification for this flash flood warning was this heavy rain that continues to move eastward. And I won't be surprised if we start seeing some flood warnings for southern parts of the area, particularly, again, Hamilton, Bosque, and Hill counties here. So that is where we will be watching for some of those new flooding problems over the next few hours. And Michelle Payne, picture is so much better on YouTube than Facebook. I totally believe that, because Facebook has a tendency to compress content. And so YouTube definitely does a better job of projecting a better picture here. So if you're watching on Facebook and you want to try something different, go over to the YouTube channel, just search South Metro Weather on YouTube, and that will allow you to watch a better picture. And I have some people that will watch on YouTube on their TV, which is something that I love to do. I'm a YouTube junkie. I watch YouTube all the time, and excuse me, I like that I can put it on the TV, and then some people, even while they're watching it on TV, they're in the Facebook chat on their phone, so they kind of get the best of both worlds. So that's one way that you can get a positive picture or a clearer picture, but also be involved in that conversation. Still getting plenty of rain. We just crossed, actually the rain I guess has slowed. Still waiting for the half-inch mark on the rain gauge here, and we just had, so there it is. So a strong thunderstorm will impact portions of northeastern Hamilton, north central, Corvallis, and Bosque counties through 1:30 p.m. So that is for winds 50 miles per hour and hail 3/4 of an inch. So that is just below severe limits, because severe thunderstorm criteria is winds 58 plus miles per hour and 1 inch hail, and 1 inch in diameter hail. So we're almost there with this storm. So we could be seeing this become severe over the next several minutes here, next hour or so, as it continues across parts of Hamilton, Coryell, and Bosque counties. Mostly talking about Bosque and Hamilton counties at this point, but just the northern part of Coryell County there, north of Gatesville. So that's where we have this complex that we've been watching here, kind of this new section of storms, while across the rest of our area, it's just the same persistent downpours that we've had here. I mean, down in the Waco area, you've been kind of left alone just a little bit. We have some new convection starting up, especially again as we heat up, continue to warm up there. And Jack, you're asking about, let's see, that's Yeah, Jack, asking what time of the storms will get into the Waxahachie area. If you're talking about the storms to the west, again, it's probably going to be closer to 45 minutes to an hour before it's in the Waxahachie area. So that's kind of what we're seeing there in terms of that timeline. And just kind of following some updates on the phone there. Let me just kind of check a couple more things here. And as I mentioned before, in terms of the timing of when we can expect this stuff to subside, I don't have a hard cutoff time for you. But when I tell you about when it will taper off, we're probably talking 8, 9, 10 o'clock tonight. Now, when I say taper off, that doesn't mean it's going to stop at that time. I think it's going to draw down and then eventually filter out. So I think the question of when it's going to end could be gradual here. I don't think it's going to be a quick event here. I think that it will gradually draw down over time there. So Adrian Gutierrez, you're asking, what about Central Texas driving to Fredericksburg? Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm focused on our core area here. I haven't really looked at the hill country much. Jessica, you're asking about Itasca. So Itasca will have storms moving through. It just had some storms moving through, and then there will be more coming in from the west over the course of the next half hour or so. And Robbie, you're asking about Venus. You do have one storm moving into Venus now, and then more to the west that will be moving in over the next half hour. So, I mean, there's kind of just off and on storms today. There's not a whole lot to talk about in terms of time periods because it's just an off and on deal. So there's no really start or stop time for rain. It's going to be start and stop and start and stop and start and stop. So it's hard to say it's going to start at this time and end at this time. It's been off and on rain through the day, and it's going to continue. Well, Laura Jo, you said Red Oak, not your area, but huge fan. So Red Oak is definitely in our area. Red Oak, I mean, we cover Ellis, Johnson, Hill, and Navarro counties primarily and surrounding areas. So Red Oak is definitely in our area. I'm not sure if someone made you think otherwise, but I mean, we're part of the Red Oak Area Chamber of Commerce as well, so definitely involved in the Red Oak area. It's going to be the same story. Rain's going to be off and on through the rest of the day and at least the early evening here. Jeremiah asking, do any of these storms look potentially tornadic? Not seeing any kind of tornado threat at this point. I really don't think that's going to be a problem here, but I would say for the most part, that Red Oak is just going to be, you're looking at rain off and on through at least, like I said, 8, 9, 10 o'clock tonight. That's when I expect these storms to be kind of tapering off and moving out. Laura Jo saying you live in Lancaster. Well, Lancaster is still our area. I mean, the thing is, I say Ellis, Hill, Johnson, and Navarro counties primarily, but that doesn't mean that, I'm not looking at the periphery. I mean, we've covered storms in surrounding counties. So don't worry about being too far out. It's not like I'm going to shun you. If you're just over the county line, we've got you covered. And Robbie, you're asking what are the potentials of large hail from any of these storms. I would tell you that hail is definitely possible. I don't expect it to be too terribly large. I don't expect, baseball sized hail to be flying around here, but I think that we could see at least quarter to maybe $half size, maybe golf ball size hail in the biggest storms, but I'm not expecting a whole lot more than that out of these storms today. So I'm not expecting anything too terribly crazy. Let's see. Trying to follow. So when will be the next storm be severe on Bardwell? So not seeing any severe weather at this moment across our area, but Bardwell is the same story as across our area. It's going to be off and on storms. If you're looking at these storms to the west, it'll probably be another hour and a half before that's moving into the Bardwell area. So just kind of keep that in mind. And Crystal, you're up in Dallas, and as far as Dallas is concerned, you've missed most of the heavy rain at this point, but does look like that's starting to fill in and kind of get beefed up there. DJ, you're at Love Field. Looks like it's kind of lighting up there. So I think you jinxed it, to be honest with you. You asked the weather guy about delays, and all of a sudden the rain is picking up. So I mean, don't blame the messenger. I think you. I think the sky heard you and got angry. Is what I'm saying. So you know, you got to be careful with that stuff sometimes. So I mean, area wide, it's just going to be off and on rain, especially now that we have towards our southern parts of our area that maybe haven't seen as much rain. We're starting to see some of this new development here, just kind of popping up like popcorn across the area. So definitely keep that in mind as we go through the rest of the day. As I've been saying, I think that we're probably looking at most of this tapering off tonight. It's 8, 9, 10 o'clock. I think that's when we'll see most of this tapering off. I mean, it could be earlier than that, but I've seen too many times these complexes, these kind of all-day rain situations where they tend to be quite persistent, and just it seems like the rain just won't quit. It seems like the dry air just cannot drive it out quick enough. And so I tend to be a little more liberal with those ending times, right? So just don't put any kind of expectations on, hey, it's going to end at this time. Unfortunately, sometimes these rain events tend to hang around longer than we think they will. So that's why I kind of, put a later time on it. Hey, if it's out of here by dinner time, I don't think anybody's going to complain. But I'm just not sure we can really accomplish that in the environment that we're in, especially now that we're seeing so much more convection starting up between Waco and here. And Will Maltz, how much additional rain are you expecting today? That really depends on your location. I mean, we could see another, inch or two of rain today, especially with those areas that get heavier downpours from this complex that's moving in from the west. So again, it kind of depends on where you're at as far as how much rain I expect. But I would say, again, another inch or two of rain is possible as we get some of these downpours, these heavier downpours moving through our area. Good Lord, that was quite the lightning strike, and I'm not even hearing the thunder yet. It's seemed like that. I should have been hearing that a lot quicker. There it is. I mean, I'm barely hearing it. That's pretty bright for, well, there it is. But still, that took a while. That was interesting. Must have just been a really good reflection off of a window somewhere. If you're new to this, I commentate on the lightning and thunder all the time. I am that easily distracted. Chris Andrade, send them yes, send the stars, and we definitely do appreciate that. Chris also has other ways to help with getting things, keeping things up, or getting new tech. So yeah, I mean, any financial support that's sent our way, we really appreciate our sponsors. Definitely go check them out. Go to the Facebook page and look at the cover photo. Those are the folks that support this brand, and because they support the brand, and because of your support as well, that makes it to where this can be a full-time job. So I can cover storms whenever they happen. That pays me, so I can do this as a full-time job, be available 24/7. And also makes it to where you don't have to pay for this. There are ways to financially support us, but payment is not required to follow our brand. So that's kind of the brand that I've tried to build, is where you don't have to pay to get the information that's so important, but I'm also financially supported. So that is always a big help. Anything that anyone contributes is always a big help and a big piece of keeping us going here at South Metro Weather. Closer to River Oaks, so you were asking where's the thunder, and we were already hearing it. So Russell, well, there's also the fact that I'm delayed. So by the time I'm hearing the thunder, it's already over where you are, because there's a little bit of a delay in the stream. But I hear what you're saying, and I'm hearing so Red Oak Chamber saying there's big thunder in Red Oak, so probably over there. So that would make sense, because I'm looking kind of south out of my window, and the lightning was behind me. So probably closer to the Red Oak area in terms of where that was located. And Pookie, you're asking, Pookie on YouTube, is there any severe wind? At this point, I haven't heard any reports of severe wind at this time, though this storm to the west, I'm going to take a quick look at this because the storm to our west, I think, could have some stronger wind with it. So number one, so I'll say that there's some stronger winds in Navarro County about to enter Henderson County. And then, as I mentioned, along this line, especially the southern half of it, I do think that there will be... Okay, I'll step out of the way in a moment. I'm sorry I'm in the way of your town, but we've got to focus on our primary areas here first. But so stronger winds possible along this line, especially the southern half where we have those stronger storms, probably looking at 50 plus mile per hour winds there. So not quite severe winds at this time, but they are definitely possible. Let me step out of the way here. I know we've got somebody in Henderson County that's and I know this is in the way too, so I apologize. But moving into Henderson County, we just talked about that storm. This is not severe at this point, but plenty of heavy rain moving towards Gun Barrel City and Athens there. Not quite to Canton at this point, but mostly into Henderson County there, getting that stronger storm that could have some small hail and some gusty winds. So we'll continue to monitor this coming in from the west. Again, like I said, this is probably our best chance for getting a severe storm. What we do get, I think, will be marginally severe. I'm not looking at the threat of tornadoes here, not really expecting anything in that regard, but I do think that we could get some hail of, quarters, half dollar size hail maybe. That's what I'm expecting for the most part. And then winds, 60, 65 miles per hour, maybe 70 in the strongest storms, but I'm not expecting any kind of catastrophic or widespread severe weather today. I just don't think we're quite set up for that. But as we get into the afternoon, as we continue to warm up, we could be looking at kind of more of a chance of getting some severe weather through there. At least, again, like I said, in these areas that haven't quite been worked up as much now, or worked over rather. Now we are, as I mentioned, seeing more development here from Bosque County towards Waco into Hill County there. So we are filling in the gaps with more storms that are popping up. As we warm up, that's increasing that convection, increasing that lift. So that's going to grab onto any fertile air there that hasn't been worked over too much, going to create new storms as that will continue to move eastward. And no severe warnings across our area right now, at least no severe thunderstorm warnings. The only one we had was way down in Mills County. You can see that there. And, I just realized we don't have, speaking of sponsors, there we go. I had to click that that was weird. I had to click that a couple of times. Jimmy wasn't up there. Of course, he is our sponsor here on our live streams and really the first sponsor here at South Metro Weather. So thank you, Jimmy, of course, and I apologize that we had you off the screen there. It was there when I started this thing, and then something happened with the graphic. Good old technical issues that you gotta love. So the only severe storm is down out of our area over here in Mills County. Again, that's going to be headed towards Gatesville there, possibly Gatesville and Killeen. So out of our area, no severe thunderstorm warnings for our particular region right now, but we do have those flash flood warnings from Navarro County over into Johnson, Hood, Somervell, and Erath counties, all of those until 4 p.m. And some people have asked me before, why is it that these flash flood warnings even are continuing even if there's not storms in that area? Sometimes those flash flood warnings will continue on for a couple hours after a storm has already left. The reason for that is because you can still have flash flooding, especially as all the runoff collects in one area. There are some places where the flooding can be worse after a storm than during the storm because of how much runoff arrives in that area. So that's why those flood warnings are usually given some additional time after the storm leaves, because it's not just when the rain is falling that creates that concern. It's also when you have all of that runoff that is going on there. So just other things to worry about there. So for right now in our area, the primary concern is going to be flash flooding, especially, like I said, Navarro County, Johnson, Hood, Somervell, and Erath counties, where we've had those more persistent downpours and we have new downpours coming down. all of those flash flood warnings until 4 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and step off here, try to grab a bite of lunch here, continue to monitor the radar, and I'll continue to bring updates throughout the afternoon. If we do have severe weather that comes up, we will bring a live stream there, live coverage of those storms. For now, no severe thunderstorm warnings, but we will monitor that throughout the rest of the afternoon.